All right, this is Coach McCarthy. Yesterday in one, we talked about our types of loans. We talked about secured versus unsecured. Secured meaning you have to have some essence of collateral to back it up. Unsecured, you don't have to worry about having that collateral. We talked about a lot of different types of loans. Talked about fixed rate and variable or adjustable rate, and some other terms that we've thrown around. Businesses get a line of credit typically through the SBA. Open-ended loan versus closed-ended loan. Open-ended mean I have access to that amount of funds, and if I have 1,000, I can take out 500. I can take out whatever I want, and the interest is only going to be compounded on what you're taking out. Closed-end loan, that's it. You can't take any more out. There are some that have hourly payoff. Got to be careful of those. Today we're going to talk about calculating interest. All right, and again, back in the day when I was younger, you had to know how all this stuff worked. You had to know these formulas. Nowadays, you can see you got calculators upon calculators upon calculators that'll do all this stuff for you. So just kind of know how to find it, I guess, on Google. So when we talk about calculating interest, the things we're going to look at in terms you're going to hear thrown around probably the most is going to be simple versus compound. All right. The interest typically expressed as a percentage. All right. And that's going to be our rate. All right. It can be either simple or compounded. Simple interest is based on the principal amount of a loan or deposit. All right. Whatever you're putting down, that's what it's based on. I'm taking out 500,000. I'm interest is based on 500,000. In contrast, compound interest is based on the principal amount and the interest that accumulates on it in every period, which is typically years. Okay. So if I take out a loan for $10, and I have a 3 year to pay it back. All right. Every year, my principal, the amount I'm going to owe, and what they're going to base their interest rate on is going to grow. All right. Because it's going to add to it every year. So we're going to go to Investopedia. All right. Found an example here. I like it. It makes sense to me. Hopefully, it makes sense to you. So, simple interest is calculated using the following formula. All right. There is a formula. Simple interest equals the principal times the interest rate times the term, all right, the loan, the amount of years. Simple interest paid or received over a certain period is a fixed percentage of the principal amount that was borrowed or lent. For example, a student obtains a simple interest loan to pay 1 year of college, all right, costs 18,000. Annual interest rate on the loan is 6%. The student repays the loan over 3 years. All right, so the interest is compounded every year. So the 3,000. So I have our 18,000. What we're taking out times our rate, 6% times our years. All right, that gives us our 3,000. So the total amount that we're going to pay, we got to pay our initial plus we have to pay our interest. That's going to be the 21,000. Okay, so principal plus interest, simple interest, that's what you're going to pay off. All right, compounded interest is your principal. All right, your annual interest rate, number of years interest is applied. All right, this is where it gets this one is a lot more complicated. So I'm going to scroll down here. Here's an example. All right, so Bob needs to borrow 500,000 for 3 years, tapped out. All right, this is an example. So he takes a loan from the bank at an interest rate of 5% per year compounded annually with the full loan amount and interest payable after 3 years. All right, so after year one, interest payable equals 25,000. All right. So our loan, our principal, 5,000 times 5, all right, times 1 because it's the first year. After year 2, interest payable is going to be more because now they're going to take your first year interest and add it on to your principal. So that's what they're going to do. Your interest is going to be based on that number. Okay, so now it's 525,000. So that's our loan principal plus year 1 interest times the same numbers. Okay, so after year 3, our interest payable is going to increase because now it's the 26,250. All right, our number from above has been added on to our 525,000. Okay, so after year 3, interest payable equals 27,000. Okay, so our total interest payable after the 3 years going to be year 1. Okay, and then year 2, and then year 3. All right, so this one is a little bit more complicated to figure out. Be careful with compounding interest. It can get you in trouble because they are going to be taking interest, a lot more interest to pay back that loan amount. All right, so coming back to our notes, we talk about calculating interest. You got to know what your rate is. Okay, interest rate is the amount of interest due per period. You got to know what that is. They're going to change with mortgages. We talk about an interest rate. That's where you're going to see it the most. With your car loan, it's going to have an interest rate. One thing that we didn't talk about yesterday with houses, okay, interest rate and APR. All right, they are a little bit different. All right, so again, we talked about interest rate, got to know what that is. When we get into housing, all right, you hear the term APR. We talked about this yesterday or in the previous lesson when we were talking about mortgages. So, interest rate is the cost you will pay each year to borrow the money, expressed as a percentage rate. Does not reflect fees or any other charges you may have to pay for the loan. The APR, annual percentage rate, reflects the interest rate, any points, mortgage broker fees, and other charges that you might pay to get the loan. Okay, so know which one you're paying. Am I paying am I paying interest rate, or am I going to be paying an APR? All right, and then the last thing that we talked about calculating interest, and we talked about this before: credit card interest rate and paying off the minimum. All right, this is a bad thing to just pay the minimum. Okay, if you do it once or twice, it's okay, but pay off more. All right, otherwise they are going to charge you a lot of interest to pay that off. All right, so I know we talked about that before, but make sure you are paying off your credit cards. Don't just pay the minimum. They're going to calculate interest on a lot of that. And that sums up today.